days. So we're gonna be short and sweet, right?
Sure. That was good last time.
Quick meeting.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks for copying this, Jen.
Yes. Hello. Hi, Graham. Hello.
Hello.
John.
Thank you, Margaret.
Hello.
Hi. Where am I?
Oh, you're over there.
You're in
You're right there.
You're in Georgetown. Back to the city hall.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like you're gonna rename the building, right?
How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Kelly would like to say a few things about some concerns he has.
Okay.
Got a problem with that? You'll be fine.
Audience business or,
Fire business.
well,
Could be audience.
We should put him on the agenda.
since he's not on the agenda.
Could we add an agenda?
Hey, Ron.
He's gonna talk for 5 minutes or 25 minutes.
So, the problem, so if you do it under audience business, no action can be taken.
All right, he's not asking for action.
Okay, so it might as well just be.
Chair in the window over here.
That's
pretty much what. In the sun, you sweat, in the shade, you almost don't put a
It's like
sweatshirt
an
on.
advisement.
That's how it's.
Yeah.
That's how it's strong.
Breeze
So-
today, help.
Oh, tremendous. They're like 2 o'clock, it's like. It was awesome.
It's pretty nice.
It's toasted down the street a few times.
But Rick had, I mean, Eric called me when Rick wasn't available last week, but Rick wasn't available. So it's kind of hard. I'm not happy, maybe I haven't. I mean, you can get the board if you want. It's kind of annoying. Bringing it to a meeting when he hasn't even talked about it with Rick yet, and I haven't been able to talk about it with Rick. Hi.
Where'd the sound go?
Hey, Deanne.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
This is under the TMI file, but I'm not feeling well.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I may jump up and do mad dashes to the bathroom every once in a while.
I hear you.
Way TMI.
I hope you feel better soon then.
I've been doing this all day. It's kind of a nicer.
Yeah, there you go. It's easy to chat.
Hello, Vivian.
All right, I've got 6:01, so why don't we, since Rob's not gonna be here, we're not waiting for him, why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm gonna call the meeting to order. It is Tuesday, June 27th, 2023, and 6:01 PM. Let's go ahead and start with the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next will be roll call. I am Lynette Kelsey, police judge. Rob Connell is not here tonight. Deanne Powell.
Present.
John Jennings.
Here.
Wayne Duzinski.
Here.
Harry Smith. Here. And Rich Barrow.
Here.
Wonderful. Next, we have agenda approval. Does anybody have anything they want to add to the agenda? I'm going to do a real quick update under staff items. I attended a Wildland Partners meeting today and have a very brief report. Anything else? So, is he joining by Zoom or is he coming in? Oh, okay,
Yeah, okay, we don't have any attendees.
okay.
It was just, if he gets here in time, if he saw that, so.
Okay, John just informed me that Kelly Gagan has some things he wants to bring to our attention, and so I guess we'll,
Just put it in if he gets here.
You can reserve a spot for him if he doesn't show up.
sure,
Yeah,
okay.
I make a motion to add Kelly Valley into the meeting.
Okay, anything else? All right, who would like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have audience business. Members of the audience have 5 minutes to present any matter of interest not already on the agenda. Who do we have for audience business
If
tonight?
there's anybody else, I'd like to go last, otherwise you've got me.
I'm not sure if Vivian wants to speak, she's with us here.
Hi, I don't have anything prepared to say at the time being. Thank
Okay, then I'll promote you back to being an attendee, if that's okay. Okay,
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. You can go ahead if you want to, Mr. Russell.
go ahead and state your name and your address.
Okay. My name's Graham Russell.
Before you go too much further, can you hear Deanne?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sometimes we have sound issues. Thanks.
All right.
We have a microphone, so if you can't hear, let us know, and we can give him the microphone, you can speak.
I can
into
speak
it.
louder too.
Okay, great.
Okay, my name is Graham Russell. My address is 3915 South Clarkson Street in Englewood, Colorado. I also have an address for my local property. I don't live there, but the address here is 653 Alvarado Road. So, good evening, Police Judge Kelsey, members of the board, and Mr. Dahl, Mr. Caroglia. I'm a retired land surveyor, and I'm also the present owner of record of the Russell property, which is roughly 7 acres, lying between the highway and Clear Creek, about a quarter mile below the dam on the north side of Alvarado Road. The Russell property is bounded on the east by a narrow triangle of land designated by the BLM as Government Lot 9 in Section 5, and which is owned by Georgetown and is the location of the Georgetown Road and Bridge Special Use Permit application, which was approved last week by the Georgetown Planning Commission. This road, I put my glasses on.
Or you can wear mine. I look like Elton John, but you know, that's cool.
This is better. Okay. This road and bridge application was reviewed by the Design Review Commission on June 8th, and the commission expressed appropriate concerns about the project, for which we thank the DRC. Concerns that we're most thankful for, I guess, are their environmental concerns, and of course the concern they expressed about possible adverse effect on adjoining landowners. On July 21st, the Planning Commission considered the road and bridge application, and it was approved with conditions, which are appropriate and for which we are grateful. Part of the Planning Commission meeting consisted of Mr. Karoglian's rebuttal of the DRC concerns. This rebuttal contains significant factual errors, which I was unable to fully respond to, as I was not provided a copy of Mr. Karoglian's rebuttal either before or during the meeting. I will respond in the appropriate context. I'd like to highlight two of our concerns with this project tonight. Number one is the possibility of creating an environmental hazard. And I'll just say with due respect, I hope that the town will seek expert site-specific advice before breaking ground on this project. I don't think that's happened yet. The second one that I'll address tonight is more personal. For over 70 years, my family has held continuous and exclusive control over access and use of the road that bisects Government Lot 9. More important, we have borne all the costs to maintain and improve the road for over 70 years. This road now accesses the cabin. It was originally built to access a power plant down there, the JJ power plant. At least I think that's what it was originally for. It now accesses the cabin that my mom built in 1949 and the lower mountain residential zoned portion of the property. The road crosses the town property and ends on the Russell property. The area beyond the road has long been used as a gathering place for friends and family, and our continued access is now threatened by the Georgetown Road and Bridge plans, as evidenced by aggressive actions and words from the Road and Bridge Department, now supported by the town administrator. What my family needs is permanent legal access to this road. My daughter Vivian and I plan to file an appeal to the Planning Commission decision after the Planning Commission files its report. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody, any attendees on the screen that might have audience business as well?
No. Vivian's the only one, and she said she didn't want to speak, so.
Okay, yeah, all right. All right, moving on, we have the tables, these are dated.
Are we allowed to comment on things that were just said? All of a sudden, I can't.
Here, just give me a minute.
Just a minute. Hang on.
Hello. That's not, give it a test.
Hello.
I can hear Jen.
Let us get the microphone going. Give it a little shake or. Let's see if is this the one? I wonder if because they're both on. I'll turn this one off. I can hear it.
Wait for you to say yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Now.
How you doing, Deanne?
I can hear you saying something. It's very muddy. It's like there's no treble on it.
Well, I'm a second base.
That I heard.
Well, then great. Deanne, here's my instruction to you and the board. Mr. Russell indicates he's going to file an appeal, as is allowed under code, to the planning commission decision. Because of that, there can be no discussion by the board of this matter until that appeal hearing. It'd be inappropriate. I'm all right with Mr. Russell saying a few things tonight. It's a public meeting. But what I don't want is for the board to be in a position of prejudging his appeal by making any responses to what he has said. I've told his daughter, and so has Jennifer, of what the process for appeal is. And that has to wait until the written decision of the planning commission is filed, and then they have 15 days to file an appeal, and then they'll show back up here. But until then, I'm instructing the board not to either respond or frankly to respond to individual contacts that they might get from Mr. Russell or his daughter. That would be inappropriate, because that would be talking to the judges outside of the hearing, and you're going to be judges when you see that appeal. And so for that reason, I asked the board not to discuss this matter until you get the appeal in hand. You've got a question?
Yeah, by them filing an appeal, will that stop all forward motion until it's solved?
Yeah, I mean, once there's an appeal, then it comes to the board. So, hello, yeah. So we don't need, I mean, I'm not suggesting there needs to be an injunction on what the town's doing. The town obviously will wait until the appeal process is complete, until it would take action under the requested special use permit. So everything will remain as it is. You'll hear the appeal, and this board will make a final decision. And if whoever doesn't like that can go to district court, but we're not even there yet. Meanwhile, nobody gets to talk individually outside of this hearing, and I'm saying that to Mr. Russell as well, with board members until the hearing takes place. That's my rule, and that's, otherwise, those persons talking outside the hearing wouldn't be able to then participate in the hearing, and we don't want that. So stay tuned. It'll be another few weeks at least until we get that appeal in and get it scheduled. Fair
Thank
enough?
you. All of a sudden the sound went away.
Comments or questions on the tables?
Are we on to payables now? Because the sound was out there for a little while.
Yes, we are.
That's why I would-
On page 3, it's there's a payment to Martin and Wood Water Rights Engineering. What is that?
Ryan, do you want to explain that one? You can do it better than I.
Martin and Wood is our water accountant, and they do the augmentation for the lake, all the water rights and releases that we have, is what Martin and Wood do. They're our water accountants, not attorneys. They're the accountants and do all the water. Does that answer what they do for us?
Could you hear that, Dan?
I caught most of it. Yeah, I just wondered why I haven't seen that kind of a charge for I don't recognize it from before, so I just was wondering if that was something new or what was going on.
It's on there every month. It ranges usually from $500 a month up to, I've had it as high as $4,000 a month. It fluctuates just depending on how much work they have to do in that time period.
Okay, that answered my question. Thank you.
June 9th to June 22nd.
I'll second it.
It's been moved by John Jennings and seconded by Rich Barrows to approve the payrolls. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the minutes from our last meeting, which was on June 13th, 2023. Any corrections or questions about those minutes?
On page 2 at the very bottom, there's a 0 missing from the grant. Mr. Hamilton stated that the project budget is $401,800 with and I thought it was a $250,000 grant. And this is only written, either the comma's in the wrong place or we're missing a 0.
Thank you, I see that. I'll make that change.
And I gave Jen a couple of corrections. The in just above that spot in the paragraph where Bob Hamilton was talking about the next grant application, is the grant, it's the last sentence. If the grant is applied for in July, we could hear about if it was approved in August, and then we could start spending in August and September. So. And then on page 6, the last paragraph, it just cross out the word A because it's probably going to take more than one work session. And then I just gave her the times of when we opened the executive session and closed it, which was also the adjournment time. The executive session opened at 8:08 p.m., closed at 9:09 p.m. Any other corrections? Who would like to make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of our regular meeting of June 13th, 2023 is corrected. All in favor say aye.
Aye. The sound just went away again. It was just fine while we were working through the minutes, and now it sounds like maybe your microphone's off, Lynette.
I actually have my own, so I will try not to duck my head. Next we have our first agenda item, which is
now it's back.
Resolution WW1 Series 2023, a resolution of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Georgetown, Colorado, approving a fee schedule for water and sewer fees. Are you going to introduce this, Rick, or Mary?
I can.
Okay.
So every July, we take a look at our water and sewer, well, June for effective July 1st, at our water and sewer rates. Last year, we adjusted them a little bit because we were getting huge increases in chemicals and delivery charges and whatnot. So there is a memo in there. Ryan and I went over historically what the increases have been. We do have a schedule that was put together after we had all our loans in place, just to make sure we are keeping up with inflation. We went off, we kind of came from that last year a little bit. But this year, Ryan and I thought it's probably the best to get back on that schedule. And we also looked at the outstanding loans and their maturity dates, and most of the loans will be paid off in 2029 through 2031. So, with the exception of the dam loan. At that point, we probably will be able to stabilize the rates a little bit, barring any catastrophes. But so right now, we brought them up for the proposed for 2023 increase. We brought them back up to the schedule that we have, and just in a nutshell, it's a $4 increase for a single family residence, bringing it from 137 to 141 for water and sewer. Did you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, we broke down the percentages. I didn't see the memo. I mean, did you break down the last 5 years of percentages of what we?
Last 4.
Last 4 years too, so it's not that we are, I think we fell right in the middle there. We fell right in the middle of our total increase of over the last 4 years, 2 higher and 2 below us. So, I think I haven't seen the rate increases like I did last year, where they were pushing 9-15% on chemicals and roll-off charges. This year, I have not seen any of that, so I'm comfortable having a smaller increase this year, but actually, because we gapped it too much last year to cover that, our gap this year's smaller, we get back on the track, and I think that's good enough to get back on the track, is what I suggest. Thank you, John.
Okay. Right. Any comments or questions from the board? Yes, Deanne?
I'm real concerned that, inflation is hitting everybody everywhere. And I realize it's good business practice to partition things out and get the end user to pay for everything. I just have a problem that water and sewer are necessary for maintaining life. And it seems like we should be able to do something to help our citizens out so that it doesn't keep going up. Is there a way we could, for example, do a moratorium this year and just let it ride and the town absorb the little bit of increase that it looks like, I realize that comes out to around, I don't know, $50,000 or something, but it seems like we need to take better care of our residents here. And is there any way we can get the water costs down so that for the end user?
I was around when we had let things slide several years, and we got ourselves we were way behind on providing providing all of the services, both water and wastewater treatment. And we wound up having to do, if memory serves, I think it was like a 20% increase, which it hurts. If you take a year off, you're gonna end up having to catch up at some point. And I am also sympathetic to the whole concept that the costs go up and not necessarily everybody's income goes up appropriately to cover everything that inflation touches. But I think it's not fiscally responsible to ignore our responsibility to make sure that we are covering all the costs and the long-range costs of plant upgrades and replacement, which we're required to do. So I don't feel it would be responsible on our part to take a year off. Any other feelings?
Is there any other fund that we could tap into to subsidize the water and sewer?
The water and sewer funds stand alone, so the general fund, no other fund can subsidize them. They're standalone. Think of them like a business.
I also agree with Lynette. I was around back then. And I think having a measured increase is a lot easier on people. They can expect 3%. So I think we should just continue on.
Anybody else? Okay.
I'll make a motion to move to approve resolution WW1 Series 2023, a resolution of the Board of Selectmen for the town of Georgetown, Colorado, approving the fee schedule for water and sewer fees effective July 1st, 2023.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution WW1 Series 2003. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
I'm going to oppose it because I'm just concerned about, we have people on fixed incomes and stuff here, and this hits them pretty hard.
Okay, motion passed. Number 2 on our agenda is ordinance number 6, 2023. This is second reading and public hearing, and it is an amendment for 6-month delay in the effective date for ordinance number 8, series 2022. An ordinance amending section 5 of ordinance number 8, series 2022, concerning hotel licensing by extending the date by which the ordinance shall be implemented.
Rick, is that you or me?
I have no comment. This is the second reading, so Jerry, if you have comment, that's great.
Sure. Rick's memo is the cover memo for this. Reports on his lengthy meeting with hotel operators. They raised a number of concerns, and the staff recommending, I think, that there be a, well, actually, he's put down 4 different alternatives, but one of them is a 6-month extension. And the original ordinance had an implementation date in it. And so the only way to change that date is to act by ordinance to amend that ordinance. And that's what this ordinance does if you choose to amend. I suspect the conversation with the hotel owners will continue. And it strikes me that it's probably not the worst thing for there to be a study session with them at some point after the issues have been maybe refined by staff a little bit so that it's a productive work session. But at some point it will be necessary to either do this or not. But I do see myself value in giving the hotel owners and the staff more time to see what they can iron out. I think there's progress to be made. So.
Any other comments from the board? I would just make a suggestion on the recommended motion, just for clarity's sake, if the board somebody on the board wishes to make the motion, I would suggest, if it's to approve, it says to approve ordinance number 6 on second reading, and then just read the title of the ordinance.
You gonna do that, John? Or do you want me to stumble through it?
No, I can do it. I move to approve ordinance number 6, with a request for a 6-month delay in the effectiveness of ordinance number 8, 2022 by adopting ordinance number 6, series 2023 on second reading. Is that covered?
It does, honestly, just referring to the ordinance by number.
Right.
You just don't have to, I mean, you can put it in and repeat it in the motion, but it's not required.
Would it also be appropriate to specify that the date effective would be December 1st, since that's what's in the ordinance itself.
Well, I mean, once you approve the ordinance, you're approving
But six,
that day.
if you're stating 6 months in the motion, we're not,
Frankly, it'd be much better if you had a motion saying, I move to approve ordinance number 6,
okay,
period. Because then the ordinance speaks for itself.
okay,
And you don't need to kind of talk your way through it and explain it. The
Okay.
more you explain it, the more
okay,
confusion I think the minutes will show.
okay.
Amend my motion. I move to approve the request for a 6-month delay in the
Actually,
of ordinance.
how about just, I move to approve ordinance number 6, series 2023.
On second reading.
Okay.
So moved.
So,
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, Jerry.
Less is always more.
Yes, hi,
Less
Wes.
is always more.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have ordinance number 7, series 2023, also on a second reading and public hearing. Oh, we didn't actually do an open a public hearing and close it.
No, we didn't.
Did we have, I'm sorry, I'm zooming.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
want to back up?
Yeah, why don't we do this? If you could just let me lead you through it.
Okay.
Okay, just do it. Okay, if a person voting on the prevailing side, which was John, moves to reconsider his motion on ordinance number 6.
So,
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All in favor of reconsideration?
All in
Aye.
favor, say aye.
Okay, now you've got,
Okay, any opposed?
great, now you've gotten into a time machine that will allow you to move back
Move back.
to allow you to open the hearing
Thank
on ordinance
you.
number 6, series 2023.
Thank you. I would like to open the public hearing for ordinance number 6, series 2023. It is 6:34 PM.
Very good. I think you can declare that the earlier staff report and discussion that was earlier in this meeting can be made a part of this record.
So declared.
Right. Is there any other testimony or evidence on this ordinance? Hearing none, it would be appropriate then to close the public
Okay.
hearing at.
It is still 6:34 PM.
Right, and a motion would be in order, and that would be a motion that Mr. Jennings is about to make.
I move to approve ordinance 6.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 6, series 2023.
It only took 3 times.
I know. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Less is more.
Any opposed? Okay, awesome. We'll
I'm a little.
get it right this time. Okay, now we have ordinance number 7, series 2023, also second reading, also public hearing. So let me go ahead and open the public hearing. It is 6:35 PM. And go ahead and get us started. Is this Rick?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so this is our second reading. This is the same thing where we had made the motion for first reading to be approved. This is an internal illuminated open sign to be allowed in the historic district only. And so that's where we're at right now.
And I should say the structure of the ordinance is to, right now, the code on signs already has a little list of exemptions from the internal illumination prohibition. And the gateway commercial signs are in that list. And this just adds another exception for the signs in the historic business district within the constraints you see in the all caps language, which is the new material. Allowing internally illuminated, non-flashing, or moving open signs, total area not to exceed 2 square feet, to be turned off every day at business close, and only in the historic, or at least the exemption applies in the historic business district. So that's the staff report. I'll bet there's probably some public testimony.
I imagine there is. We received a written comment from Amanda Cooper. I'll go ahead and read it very quickly. You should have gotten it by email, Deanne.
I did, and I read it.
Okay, thank you. It states, I am submitting written record in support of ordinance number 7, a revision to the sign code for the historic district. Economic development of our historic district and the success of this merchant community is crucial to our future. This request came to us from local merchants who are desperate to improve outlooks in the latter part of the day when the area in and around 6th Street dies off from foot traffic. The absence of anchor restaurant property Lucha's Cantina has taken a toll, and we owe this group of impacted stakeholders any opportunity we can to support their investments into our community. To be a small business owner is a massive sacrifice. It comes with sweat equity and serious fiscal risk and exposure that takes years for failed businesses to recover from. We have watched our small business community dwindle significantly since COVID, and our visitor experience is directly impacted by the lack thereof. What is notable to me as a member of BPC, which is Business Promotions Commission, is that this recommendation was requested by impacted entrepreneurs. As a business owner myself, I do not have to deal with this restriction. I can attest that when our lit sign is accidentally not turned on, we know. I feel that requests that bring liveliness to the historic district in particular should be met with utmost support from all. Tasteful, lit, open signage can be managed with integrity, as is always the goal. Thank you for your time. Amanda Cooper, owner of Cooper's on the Creek. Any other public comments?
I shut up, so I guess it's. Craig Abrahamson, 815 Main Street. My wife Dana and I own, I just counted them up, I think 6 small businesses here in Georgetown. 2 of which are allowed to have lit open signs in the window. 3 or 4 of which are not. Only one of which actually needs one. Amanda spoke to it very, very well. There's a notable difference in business when you actually tell people that you're open. I was part of the DPC discussion around this language change, which I will note was recommended by majority vote of the BPC members to come before you guys. It in and of itself does not create visual clutter. It recognizes the changing of the times, you will, with regard to when this original ordinance was written, which was to avoid, the Eat at Joe's flashing sign, girls, 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 kind of, the old Vegas kind of signs that we all, none of us want that.
Sound just went funky.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now, Deanna?
Not very well. It sounds like you're clear across the room, which technically you are, but before it sounded good.
Okay, well, I'll keep talking like I was. So anyway, I'm just here to voice our personal support as local business owners, and to reiterate that this was brought to you by majority vote of the BPC, and we think it's a tasteful measure and very minimal in terms of its ability to help.
It sounds like you're underwater. Can you talk into the mic, please? It's not on. Yeah.
Well, wait, you guys, the mic works. We just gotta give it a second. Let's give it
It's
a
okay,
break.
I got it.
We have to turn, we have
I
to.
say vote.
Vote in favor. Hello.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Do we have any other people attending that would like to make a comment? That worked.
Sounds like a stomach problem.
Technical difficulties.
They work. They just need a second to catch up.
Okay, so you need to do just test. Okay,
No, for the
all right. Do we have anybody else in attendance that might want to make a comment?
Not on Zoom.
Okay, very good. If so, I will go ahead and close the public comment period, which is 6:42 PM, and open up the board discussion. Any comments from the board?
I'm in agreement with it. I think that it helps the businesses. I'm good with it. I don't believe that it creates extra clutter, but it does allow them to actually show that they are open, where a lot of times it's in question.
I think it's a good idea to totally support it.
As a rep for BPC, you know, we're trying to enhance the opportunities for our business community, and which is why we recommended this to the board.
Yes, Deanne?
The regulations and ideas that are in our ordinance books and in the DRC's books were well thought out. They keep the historic feel and character in the best way possible. The problem with business downtown, from what these folks have been saying, is that it drops off. And it indeed does, because all of our stores close. So there's no traffic going past. It isn't that people don't see their restaurants, it's that there needs to be a reason to come down there. As Amanda Cooper said, it was better when Lucha's was working, because that's kind of a anchor store type concept. I think 511 is equally outstanding, but not enough people know about it yet. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I don't think we should change this at all. If the downtown business merchants want to up their traffic, they need to have longer business hours, and then that way there should be people down there, although an awful lot of people who come here have a far distance to go to get home, and consequently it may not be logical to have later business hours. And it needs to be a situation where if we need to work on other aspects rather than changing our rules that keep the place historically sound. For example, it seems like a lot of the folks here should band together with, for example, Loveland, and kind of create a destination package that can be advertised out and about, you know, like in Texas and in Iowa and places where people can come here, and for the $1,500 that it would cost them to spend at Rec for one day, they get 2 or 3 here. That would bring our business up. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I don't want to change our ordinances on this. They've been worked on for a lot of years, starting in 1953 that I'm aware of, to keep the look feel. Once it's gone, we got no existence left. There's not a reason in the world to come here if you don't want to see the historic, quaint Victorianness of the area, the mining history. So no, we don't change these ordinances. We need to go about getting our business enlivened either by extending their hours so that there's traffic downtown, or by, you know, packages and destination concepts to get people to come in. We've got more than enough hotel rooms and short-term rentals. We got too many of those. So it should be able to be done, but no, do not change these ordinances. This will kill our town.
Did we have electric streetlights in 1850?
No, they came a little bit later, and I'd also like to point out that the whiskey barrels are not necessarily Victorian in style. So we have, I think it's more of a 1970s look.
So I'm just saying,
so we've kind of, yeah.
If we went
I'm not
through
saying that there's anything wrong with the whiskey barrels. There's just a few things that are not quite Victorian. I'd like to make a motion
Make it.
Well, I was just gonna make a comment.
Sorry.
If that's okay.
Make it quick.
I'm in favor of this, ordinance, just because times do change, and we need to recognize that, and I see this as a very, very small change. It allows a small, easily recognizable sign that shows up when the streets are dark, that tells people, yes, this place is open, come in. And I don't see it adding so much light to our historic commercial district that it takes away from the historic feel of it. So I would be in favor of this.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes?
Being a previous coffee shop owner, we did not open before the sun come up because people would drive by looking because you couldn't visually see that it was open. And the same thing held towards the end of the day too. Once the sun went down, we were closed. I think it's very crucial. It's not like you're lighting the whole place up. You could do enough on the inside to light it up that I guess, could make it seem more attractive, but if people don't see an open sign, they don't know. And you need something visually that they can look at and see, especially in a small town. That's all I can say.
Thanks.
Now I'd like to make a motion. I move to approve the text amendment under section 18.20.050 to include exception, internally illuminated, non-flashing or moving open signs with a total area not to exceed 2 square feet and are to be turned off every day at business close are permitted in the historic business district.
Let's go ahead and just, as we did on the previous one.
I'm sorry, yeah,
I spoke too fast.
I'm sorry, I didn't write
The recommended motion.
Yeah, and it's no one's fault,
No.
but, it's the
But you
ordinance.
don't feel that way.
It's, less is more here, and a motion to approve ordinance number 7, series 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 7, series 2023 on second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, yeah, big time. You're killing the town.
All right, motion passed. Next on our agenda, we have the hydro team charter.
Rick, do you want me to help introduce this?
I couldn't understand you. What did you say?
Next is the hydro team charter. Do you want Jerry to
Oh,
introduce?
yes, please, Jerry, go ahead.
Members of the board, you had a presentation, I think it was just last meeting, from, I think it was Paul Rhodes and Cindy Neely on the XL hydro project and their plans to decertify and mothball that project up. And they have already stopped, as you know, operating and have disconnected the penstock from the dam. That's a whole other set of issues in terms of water quality, et cetera. But this issue is in front of you, which was presented, was does the town want to be a part of an effort to approach XL with options for preservation of those facilities in one way or another. And the message I think that you gave back to them, help me remember, but detail for us in writing what is it that you want us to be standing behind? Because until you tell us what we're going to support out there in the meetings, we need to know that written down. And so they've done this by putting together the hydro team charter document that's in the packet. The next step, I think, would be, if you're interested in doing that, would be to approve that charter as the sort of guiding principles for the town and its participation with these folks in their conversations with XL. And that's fine. You should have a discussion about where you think this charter is going. I will say that I was asked to review this draft of this, which I did. probably the most significant comment I made is not reflected here, which is all of these bullet points are about, let's preserve this and keep it operating. And that's fine, that's one of the alternatives. But like any other historic preservation set of principles, you look at whether there are other alternatives to preserving that history and interpreting it to the public. For example, National Park Service, they have a big facility like this, they don't necessarily keep the hydro plant running. They'll take a portion of the penstock and display it in the building across the street, and that's how you interpret history. At least that's one alternative. I'm not saying that should be done here, but the only alternatives here are keep it going somehow. And it would appear to me that the board would want also to know, well, are there any other choices besides that, and will you explore them? I'm not a policymaker, but I can tell you that I was asked to comment, and I did. They said, yeah, we incorporated your comments, and really the most substantive one was that. And I think it's very different in kind of nature, admittedly, from where this is headed, and I'm not saying that's where you have to end up, but to preclude yourself from considering that option, I think, surprised me. So that's what I got.
Okay. Comments?
I guess I have one comment. It's more like having a special committee. How does that work with the open meetings and you know, because you're going to have probably at least 3 selectmen on that committee, or is it just 2? Just 2. And so that's how you stay away from violating open meetings law.
Yeah, that's correct. And because it's not a town commission, like the planning commission or some other, it's not subject to open meetings law, but again, only if there's fewer than 3 selectmen that are involved.
I would like to think that we're considering other options. I think Jerry brings up a valid point. You know, there's lots of rumors on the streets and ideas and everything, and I don't think those should be, you know.
Mary, I can't hear you. I mean, I can hear you, but I can't understand what you're saying.
I agree with Jerry.
I agree with Jerry.
I agree with you too, Jerry.
So-
It's just why it's,
You know, it's one bullet point, you've got like,
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
It's all inclusive.
yeah.
it is. That's his best. Yeah. But also too, it doesn't, we're not doing the same thing that they're already trying to do to us, which is give us one option, correct?
I think that's right.
Yeah, so we don't want to do the same as them, and we're just this far apart.
Right. Yeah, their option is completely take it apart. What's here is keep it going, and I'm not sure, you know, which of those, that's kind of high stakes poker, in a way, I think.
So the edit you'd be proposing?
It'd be something like, explore alternative ways in which the hydro plant can be interpreted, like which the historic significance of the hydro plant can be interpreted for the public.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yes, Deanne?
1, 2, 3. The 4th paragraph down on that page says, the town hereby appoints and supports a special committee to investigate and develop for the town a more in-depth understanding of the current condition of the facility and potential impacts surrounding Excel's decision to dismantle the facility. It sounds to me that this is a fact-finding kind of situation, and I'm completely in support of it, which means the rest of you can all vote against it, because that's what always happens. You don't pay attention to the history here.
Any other?
No comment.
Okay.
I'd like to go on the record as no comment.
Yeah, I think it opens the door for other ways to preserve that history. And the other funding sources that might help make that happen.
It's not really So unless you want more in it,
Can you give us a motion there, Jerry?
John doesn't want to take out every one of that.
Yes. Help Johnny and I out here.
Actually, I can hear you. I think it's, a proper motion would be to, move to, approve hang on, let me just think through before I talk. Approve the elements of the hydro team charter and the appointment of selectmen to a public-private committee to pursue those elements.
As amended, or as?
Yes, as amended.
So moved.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Who seconded, please? Who seconded, please? Who seconded? There's no sound at all coming through.
Can you type it, maybe?
Wait, I could hear Mary say type it.
Okay.
Okay. Should we?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are you voting in favor or against it?
I have no idea what we're voting on because there was absolutely no sound.
Well, we didn't know that.
I wonder if Rick can hear it.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay.
What was the last part you heard?
Mary, I think, voted to approve whatever Jerry said, which I also didn't hear. And I don't have any idea who seconded.
Okay, thanks. Jerry's gonna repeat the motion and we'll go through this again.
I'm going to repeat the motion, Deanne. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, just listen carefully. I'll repeat the motion. And the motion would be to approve the elements of the hydro team charter as presented, with the addition of a bullet point for alternatives. Mary made that motion. Dwayne seconded it. There's been a vote, and we're waiting for you to vote yes or no.
I can support that. So yes.
All right, unanimous. Okay, thank you very much.
Should we?
Okay, next.
Lynette, should we specifically appoint the selectmen that are gonna be on that?
I think you can maybe allow them to volunteer.
Okay, just wanted to.
Volunteer?
And he did.
Yeah.
And so,
Because it may change over, I mean,
right,
Okay,
I think it's probably enough
okay.
for.
Yeah, okay.
I thought she told me that I could go on.
I thought you would be valuable on that committee.
okay. Next, we have the town administrator's report and task list update. Are you ready with that, Rick?
Yeah, I'm actually walking because my phone is approaching the end of life with the battery. So I'll keep going. I'm heading to my car to charge this so I can still talk. So bear with me. I'm walking, so.
While you're walking, I could give my update on the Wildland Partners meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So that happened this morning. It's always on the last Tuesday of the month, or the fourth Tuesday, I should say. And Jeremy Jones, the assistant chief, gave us an update on the mitigation projects he's got in place. They're working in York Gulch, up in St. Mary's. The Dumont Cemetery is done. I asked him about Silverdale, and they're still intending to start going on phase 2 of the Silverdale project. I did ask him if he has any concerns about what's happening with Excel's plans, if that's going to impact his mitigation. He says it shouldn't, but I will try and keep him in the loop of what's going on and that. They did receive the grant that they applied for to update the CWPP, which is the Wildfire Prevention Plan. And then the individual communities, the municipalities do their updates to their CWPIPs, which will follow and conform with. They should all work together, and that'll make everybody eligible for grant funding and have a more unified approach to what long-range plans are for mitigation. We did have Mr. Stone, who is the current interim U.S. Forest person, and he encouraged us to also look at expanding the areas that we declare to be wildland-urban interface, to expand those to extend inside the forest boundaries, so that then the Forest Service can actually assist in those mitigation efforts, and that should help them get funding as well. They're always underfunded. So, and that will take place in the next couple of years. We'll need to have our plan. The county will need to have their plan, and our plan will need to be ready to go forth with approvals in July of next year. So, and then the county sheriff talked about the changes in their fire response policies. One of the newest things is that if there is an event that is anywhere close to any of our schools, the kids will be the students will be held at the schools, because all of those schools are in very defensible spots, and it makes much more sense to have the kids stay safe there and not have them try and be evacuated, and then hence the reuniting process with their parents. So that word will get out to all of the parents and teachers, and it'll be put in place. What else? They are still trying to get people signed up for early notification. If there's a evacuation notice that needs to go out. So if anybody has any suggestions on where to contact groups of people, how to get more people signed up for it, because what they don't want is to, after the event, have a lot of people say, I had no idea anything was happening because I got no notification. It isn't something that they can passively wait for. They have to sign up for it. So that's an effort that's ongoing. They are trying to fund a forest coordinator type position for mitigation projects, and there is a grant application gonna be submitted for that. And that's about it. So, are you ready, Rick?
I am ready. Can you hear me?
Wonderful, yes.
Okay, great. Well, greetings from everyone from CML conference in Aurora. Yes, I had to walk about a mile to get back to my car. So the convention center is at the Gaylord, and it's huge. I guess one thing I want to do the first thing is you should have received a letter from Serenity. I forgot the name of the company because I can't see it in front of me.
Serenity for Life.
They purchased Serenity for Life. That's correct. Thank you, Deanne. They're the ones who purchased the Chateau Chamonix, and they have submitted an application in order to turn that into a group home, which is basically part of recovery and addiction. It's not a first line, it's more of a second or third line where people would come and get certain kind of counselings and get away for like a week to a month at a time. However, after doing research, contacting the town of Carbondale, who has a model that's very similar to the one that's called Jaywalker Ranch. After talking to them, they in fact in their code it's classified as a group home, and a group home would be anything in which people have residence overnight. That excluded of outpatient, so it's not outpatient. So when they submitted their application, what happened was we reviewed it, and what they were filing under is medical clinic. Well, I had Jerry review the code or review what the term is defined, since our it's defined as a category. However, our code doesn't actually give a definition of what a medical clinic. So he shared with me what the common definitions of medical clinic, and they're all outpatient. This facility is an inpatient facility. Therefore, it doesn't meet our code, and there's not a special use category for this. So basically, it's not allowed. So the letter that you have in your packet basically is asking the council if you would consider, or the selectmen, excuse me, if you would consider an appetite of changing code. And so, they're willing to change their business model in order to make this a more outpatient facility, but they still want to be able to use the inpatient residents in order to help people overnight / longer term, like a month. So they would change their model if you were allowed, if the council has appetite to change the code to include a group home under medical clinic, so that they could do that. That would be the first request. The second request would be, would we consider, if you don't have the appetite to change under medical clinic, would you consider changing a special use and add a category of group home? So those are the two things they're requesting. Before staff spends any time on this, I wanted to bring it to your attention to see if there's appetite.
Okay. Anybody?
Yes.
I would like to have more than just this letter and your explanation, and I would like some references to codes and definitions. So I don't want to close the door on them yet. I don't know how I would feel about changing or special use or anything, but I'd like us to consider all the details of that package.
Yeah. I agree with that.
We can certainly do that. We can bring more information to you. I've done an enormous amount of work over the years on group homes, typically for recovering substance abuse users and alcoholics. And the statutes in the federal law is really clear in saying that the group homes for recovering, not presently using, but recovering substance abusers are protected under the Fair Housing Amendments Act, the ADA, and the Rehabilitation Act. And therefore, municipalities must allow those group homes in a zone district that otherwise allow residential. This zone district does not. So you could certainly characterize it as a special use and have limitations on it in terms of numbers of patients, et cetera. That would probably fall best if you want to allow it as a special use in the zone district, because it's not a residential zone district, so you're not really triggered by those Fair Housing Act amendments. I did notice in the letter, and probably my disagreement with them over whether recovering substance abusers and alcoholics are disabled, they took a very different view, I will tell you, than the law has for years. The recovering community worked really hard for decades to get Congress to recognize alcoholism as a disease and therefore a disability. and therefore to obtain protections under the ADA and the RAM and the Fair Housing Amendments Act. I'm just surprised to see it kind of doesn't matter, my kind of disagreement with them about that, but it's not an affront to the disabled community in any way. But that's fine. They clearly have a somewhat different approach to addiction recovery, which is fine. As many pathways as you can have are great. You don't have to resolve that question to determine whether you want a residential group home setting in this zone district as a special use likely. But we certainly can bring to you kind of what the characteristics of a group home regulation would be. And I can tell you from my work in other communities over many years, the issue is how many people, what does the traffic and parking look like, what are the impacts on the neighborhood, and that usually emanates from sober homes, for example, or group homes for recovering substance abusers, and they often are controversial in the community, and I've been in the position of telling the communities I represent, this is a residential district, and you've got to allow this over the objections of neighbors. Here, happily, you won't have that problem because in this zone district, other residential uses are not permitted. So we can give you some examples of group home regulation that would sort of articulate, here's the size and shape of that. Numbers of residents, maybe hours, what do they do about parking, things like that, and you can make a determination of whether it fit as a special use, and if so, under what conditions. We can probably get that in a package for you by next packet.
So, all right. Sounds good. Go ahead. Yes, Deanne?
The last sentence on the next to last paragraph says our ultimate goal is to be able to help patients achieve their therapeutic objectives in 28 days or less. Is there any way that the long-term stay thing that we were talking about earlier in tonight's meeting, could they be a crossover that would somehow help them facilitate their group home, because it's essentially a long-term stay?
Well, under 28 days would not be a long-term stay under the hotel ordinance that is not yet effective. So I understand the thought, and I think it's creative, but because 28 days is under the hotel ordinance limit, I think there's not that crossover. There just isn't.
Okay.
I'll understand that Rick and I have direction to bring materials forward in the back of 2 weeks hence.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Anything else, Rick?
Oh, yes, certainly. So I just wanted to give an update. You probably have seen there's plenty of road improvements going on right now. ESI has been in town. I believe they're probably done what they're going to be doing right now, but they have extended the sidewalk on 8th Street on both sides. That's to continue to correct all the drainage issues. We had to raise it recently and widen it in order to get the fall that's properly required to get the water to convey to Rose Street. And so that should be done. And they were also pouring concrete, creating drainage, concrete pans further down on Rose. I want to say it's around the 11th Street near the county annex building, and then all the way down towards 15th Street. This is all parts of the improvements that we're doing to correct the drainage. They have submitted an estimate. Mary and I are still going to have to review this to find out what has to be cut from this. The estimate that would include the pavings for Main Street and also Rose Street pavings. What they had communicated to us is they will be back late July in order to do this. And so that's pushed back a little bit, but it's almost like there are 2 different phases. The concrete schedule is different than the asphalt paving schedule. And so, but they assured us that they will absolutely get it done they'll do exactly what we want them to do, even if we can't do all the pavings that we want because of budget constraints. So just to keep you informed about that, it was brought to my attention by Mary and Craig and some others about filling potholes. I believe that was done today. I'm not there to verify it, but I got word that it was done today. So I guess I'm asking Mary to confirm it. But the potholes around the Round Street, potholes around Argentine, and putting up stop signs. I mean, sorry, not stop signs, no parking signs along 22nd Street where the trail was just extended. And so, Mary, can you confirm that that was done?
I can't right now, but I'll be more than happy to let you know once I go home.
Okay.
In the rearview mirror.
Yeah. So
Sorry about that.
I was aware of that. That's okay. I was aware of those issues. They were on the list to get done, and Stuart told me that he had done them all. So I just wanted to make sure they are satisfactory, since I can't see them.
Thank you.
I will see them tomorrow. So those are good. You guys have seen my staff report. Is there any questions that you may have? Oh, I guess one other update. We did meet with Excel on Friday, and we had a 2-hour meeting. This meeting I felt was a very successful meeting. They brought some division leaders a little bit, well, not a little bit, much higher in authority than has been currently meeting with us to discuss the watershed protection permit. We did talk about our concerns. They actually, well, I have to say this. I feel that they actually heard us, and this meeting was a game changer in separation from how we have discussed in the past. The issues that we were mainly concerned regarding water, since it's watershed water quality that was going into our plant, causing it to shut down. The plan is still to they are looking into the location site of the elbow to make sure that they're going to do all that's required to meet with stakeholders and landowners where the property is. I think that they are very much aware that it is not on their property. And so they're going to make amends to that with the appropriate easements and so forth and agreements. Second is the trash rack. They did spend a little bit more time explaining the trash rack to us so that we would understand it. However, our opinions have not changed. But in order to address our main concern, which was sediment, the containment of sediment, and none of their plans before this addressed the sediment issue of continuing to get into our system, they are going to be creating a coffer box that the trash rack will sit into, which then what happens is the sediment will fall into that box before it would go through the trash rack, therefore containing the sediment. That's the short term. The long-term plan, what they're going to do is create a bypass. And that bypass will go before it even, it'll exist before it even, I wish I had a map, but I don't have a map. But it will go before it even gets into the reservoir, and the water will bypass all the way down into the creek where the elbow is. So all of the water from spring runoff and everything else will bypass the reservoir in order to contain the sediment that's in the reservoir currently right now. So their plan is to address that. They've also agreed to do every study that Ryan, because they're leaning towards Ryan right now to make sure that they're testing what we're afraid that they may not be testing. So they have authorized any testing that Ryan wants to get done and to be expedient on that. And so, like I said, this one was a radically different type of meeting. They're wanting to be partners with us. They're wanting to make this a good win for the town of Georgetown and for their initiatives. We did communicate. Cindy Neely was there. She did communicate. If you know, to have interest in order to share options, and they agreed that they would be bringing the appropriate people to connect with her to discuss options other than decommissioning, and so that they said that they would entertain other options before they make the decision. They will continue to walk through necessary permitting requirements with FERC for the decommissioning, but at the same time they will entertain all meetings in order to make the town feel that they have heard. And they also wanted to reassure that they are not going to be demolishing the Energy Museum, that their intention is to find an appropriate receiver, whether it be the town or a nonprofit, that their intention is to keep that and preserve that. They don't want to be owners of that. So we all walked away feeling that was a very important meeting, and we felt very heard. And their plans that were submitted, we felt that they were actually accommodating what our asks were. That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Rick? All right. Any other matters to bring to our attention tonight? Anybody?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay. Mary Smith moved to adjourn, and Rich Barrow seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Thank you all so much.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
Bye, have fun.
I will. I can't wait to come back and tell you all that's happening.
Can't wait to come back to where it's cooler, because you're probably like 95 down there.
I know, it is so hot. I'm sweating here.